Hello and welcome to the final whistle with me, Kenzie, Benali.
And me, Steve Forbes.
Well, it wasn't to be at Wembley this evening. It is Leicester who progressed to the FA Cup final. We are going to talk about all the major talking points from that game with our two guests, Belvers and Dean. Thank you for joining us once again, guys. Bit of a disappointing evening. Let's start with you, Dean. What did you make of that performance?
Yeah, I think there'll be some disappointment and obviously some frustration. It was a very tight game, if I'm honest. A tactical battle. There wasn't too much in it. Not a lot of quality probably on display from either team, really, and kind of nullified each other, especially in the first half. Not many chances within the game. And if you look at it, really, Leicester got a little bit more fortune, from the goal. It's really good play from, obviously, Jamie Vardy, shows his really good pace. And then the first strike for Iheanacho is actually going wide. It hits Vestergaard and just falls for him nicely. And I think the disappointment from Southampton will be when they did get into good positions. I think they either took the wrong decision, rushed the pass, or were just a little bit sloppy in possession. And just couldn't quite get their attacking game going. There wasn't really any flow to it. There wasn't much combination. And I think that was probably down to good positional sense from Leicester. I think their shape was very good. But not much in the game. I just think there will be a bit of disappointment from the Southampton players that they've come to Wembley and really not created a chance. You can look at Diallo's volley, but it's a half chance. There's a few crosses that go in, a few set pieces that are almost there, but it just didn't happen for Southampton today. And I think probably, if you look at it, Leicester probably just sneaked it.
Yeah, Paul, as Dean said, there wasn't really an awful lot for us to talk about. What did you make of that performance?
Just very disappointing. It's such a shame, isn't it? Such high hopes going into it, and then not a single shot on target in the full 90 minutes. That's not good enough. Ralph won't be happy at all about that. None of the players will be happy about that. Unfortunately, because things didn't click, and whether that's down to the players themselves or maybe I almost absolutely believe it's entirely down to Leicester, really, sort of nullifying Southampton's threats. It has sort of left them open to a lot of criticism. I've just had a quick flick through social media, which is always dangerous, but there are accusations there already of, the players were supposed to give it everything, leave everything out on the pitch. None of them did that. No one wanted to win that semi-final more than the players out there. And unfortunately, for some reason, it just wasn't anywhere near one of their best performances of the season. Sometimes these things don't work because of the opposition. Sometimes there are other reasons about it. You can never fathom why, and the players will be scratching their heads as well, and they will be shattered and crushed in that dressing room right now that they didn't come closer to at least having a foot in the door at Wembley for the final. But yeah, it was an absolutely forgettable first half. There were some improvements after the break, but all in all, it's not a game that you can look back with any fondness, any sort of sense of, it was so nearly there, the game. It just, for some reason, didn't work today. And there'll be a lot of players, coaches, fans all over the world with Southampton scratching their heads late into the night, wondering what went wrong today.
Yeah, it was a shame. Well, Leicester's goal did seem to come slightly against the run of play at the time, Dean, but was it even more frustrating because Iheanacho's initial shot was looking to go wide?
Yeah, I think that is the frustration. Like you say, Leicester got the fortune today to be able to score that goal. And Southampton, I wouldn't say it was a purple patch, but they were in a better spell within the game. They were pressing Leicester. They were winning the ball back within Leicester's half and putting them under a bit of pressure, and looked like they were kind of gaining a little bit of control, a little bit of tempo against Leicester without really creating any chances or hurting Leicester. They just locked the team in more of ascendancy. But I think because they started to press Leicester, they left that gap. And obviously when you've got Jamie Vardy with his pace and He was one-on-one with Bednarat and drifted wide. It was very clever and intelligent from Jamie. He played more on the left-hand side in the second half to try and isolate that position, and just showed a really good turn of pace, put a good cross in. And like you say, Steve, the first connection for Iheanacho is going wide, that there's no real danger, but Vestergaard obviously can't react quick enough, tries to maybe move his leg, hits leg, and when things are going against you, it just falls perfectly. You know, it's almost a perfect set for himself to then finish into the bottom hand corner. Nothing that Fraser Forster could do, nothing that Ryan could do to try and recover. And there wasn't much else in the game. You can look at Jamie Vardy, had that potentially one-on-one first half. James Maddison came on, had a couple of shots, but nothing in the game. And I think it was today, because of the way or the quality within the game, whoever got that first goal was really going to win. And unfortunately, it fell to Leicester. But yeah, it just frustrates him, because that's when Southampton probably were getting that little bit of control within the game for the first time.
Well, Belvers, obviously the Saints hadn't conceded a goal up until that point in the competition. How did you think we did defensively today?
Yeah, pretty good. Like Dean said, the Jamie Vardy was pretty contained. That's why he went out looking for another sort of area in which to try and cause problems in. And Iheanacho, surely the most informed striker in the Premier League right now in all competitions. I think he scored 12 in 12. We heard the stat about how no one has scored more goals in the FA Cup since the start of the 2015-16 season. So with Jose Perez in there as well, Yuri Tielemans, I'm a huge fan of what he can do as well. And then you've got James Maddison coming on. They've got fantastic threats going forward, but they only had the one shot on target in the whole game. So that again sort of points to the idea that Saints actually did pretty well at the back. I think there was a little bit sort of further forward where there was a bit of an issue where passes seemed to go astray. We saw Southampton losing possession a little bit more than we're used to, and that often put them on the back foot and allowed Leicester to sort of push on. But there's also been a little question mark over Jan Bednarek trying to nip in front of Vardy to get that ball that led up to the goal. But look at the number of interceptions he has managed successfully this season. It's a huge reason why, when things work, they work so well at the back there, because they're cutting out the balls before the strikers get them. And he still had his two colleagues in the middle to try and nullify Iheanacho, and they would have done it if Lady Luck hadn't been smiling on Leicester today. So yeah, certainly at the back, no great criticisms at all from me.
Dean, what was it that just wasn't clicking in an attacking sense for Southampton this evening?
Well, if you look at the game, I think I agree with Paul. I think it was more down to Leicester. If you look at the game, Southampton had to go long quite a lot, trying to play that ball in behind. I don't know if that was a conscious tactic from the team today, but they just couldn't play through the thirds. Leicester were forcing Southampton to play square and sidewards. There was opportunities, actually. I think one time, second half, Nathan Redmond got into really good position on the half turn, kind of came into a number 10, and they just hesitated on his pass. Delayed his pass. Danny Ings had already made a run, had to stop and then make the run again, and he was offside. So I think it was just that little bit of indecision, maybe a bit of communication from the players. Stuart Armstrong couldn't really get in them positions where he's really dangerous, where he's running at the back four and he's trying to slide passes in. He was kind of doing it from a deeper position. Walker Peters and Ryan Bertrand, like the first half, they were playing pretty deep. But again, I think that was from Leicester's tactics. So Southampton just couldn't quite get the numbers of players in the right positions in the attacking third to be able to play those 1-2 touch combination passes to try and get them behind. It was more deeper passes, which Leicester were quite comfortable with. So I think it was down to good tactical play from Leicester, a little bit of indecision and hesitation from the Southampton players, and just one of those games where it just didn't quite click, to be honest. I think if you look in the game early on when Danny Ings was running at Leicester's back four, if he just got a shot off, if he's trying to have that extra touch to set himself, I think there was a couple of opportunities there where players could have taken a shot or a cross a bit earlier, just delayed it, hesitated and had to come back out. So just didn't happen at all for the attacking players, unfortunately.
Belvers, we wondered if Shea Adams might start. In the end, he obviously came off the bench. How did the Saints do for you in an attacking sense? Because it was a game of few chances for both teams, as we've discussed.
Yeah, it just didn't work, did it? Unfortunately, not sure how much more I can add to what Dean said, really, but unfortunately, it reminded me quite a lot of the sort of the mid to late December to probably a month, 6 weeks on from then, when Saints really struggled to score and never really looked like scoring more than one goal if they did score at all. And then out of that, it suddenly kind of clicked again, didn't it, with the FA Cup run? So it's one of those that you just can't explain, and it must be absolutely infuriating as a manager when some days, you look at that, the hour against Burnley after the nightmare opening, the way they were working together to create chances, to cause problems, it was just fantastic. They can't explain why the first half hour was so much poorer than that wonderful last 2/3 of the game. And when they're analysing this game, I'm probably talking out of turn because I have no idea about that world, but I would just, it would keep me awake at night wondering what on earth has happened there. Why are things not working so well? Is it just because of what Leicester are doing? Is it just because, I don't know, one or two players, it's such a team, Southampton, the mechanisms, when it works, it's because every single element of that machine is working in unison and is working sort of a split second quicker than if anyone needs to think about their job or where they need to go or anything like that. It just happens. And with the automatisms that the manager's always talking about, when it doesn't work and they're sort of striving to find another way through or to find a move that will click everything else into gear, I don't know how you solve that problem, but that for next season and beyond, that's the, what is plan B if everything isn't clicking automatically, I guess, because if they need to sort of find a way to work through a game, even if that's a possibility, I don't know, but that is something that I think they will perhaps try to work through going forward, because when things work, it's fantastic. No one can live with Southampton. When things aren't working as slickly as they can do, what's the next idea?
Dean, how do you think Ibrahima Diallo did this evening? He seemed to be in the thick of the action throughout. He got booked after 5 minutes, had some neat touches, and obviously we addressed his half chance as well on the volley.
I actually think he done pretty well today. I was personally worried for him when he got booked after 5 minutes. He started the game. He looked like he had a bit of nerves, obviously a poor touch and then a late tackle. But he recovered very well from that and showed really good discipline in his play, because he would have had to have really concentrated in that position in centre midfield, trying to win second balls, trying to win tackles, stay on his feet for the whole of the game, because you think one mistake he's going to get sent off. And he was pretty good on the ball. I think in terms of Diallo, he did his job well. He's never going to be a player that's going to create things for you. He's going to slide balls through, but winning the ball back, winning second balls, keeping possession, playing nice touches, passing simple passes, I think he done pretty well. And his strike on goal was excellent, really good technique, good connection, and just kind of drifted wide. So probably one of the better performances for Southampton for him. But yeah, I just like the fact that he showed good mentality after getting booked so early, because it could have quite easily gone the other way. Another late tackle, and then he's sent off after 20 minutes, and then it's a really uphill struggle. So yeah, he did fine today.
Now, Belvers, perhaps a bit of a tough question, but a lot of Saints fans have been saying that the Great Cup run was keeping our season alive. Now we've exited the Cup. What does that do for Southampton's season?
I've got to be careful here because we want people to keep tuning into these shows, don't we? It's a tough way. It's been a very difficult season with the short pre-season, the lack of fans, all that sort of thing. So it's a kind of the first job is to absolutely make sure that the club are safe, because 36 points should be enough, but another win, maybe a bit more, would be absolutely guarantee that. there are a few little sort of subplots. It'll be I'm sure everyone will be looking to take 3 points in the week at Spurs after the game at St Mary's early on this season. It was very sort of out of character from what we expect from Ralph's teams. I think it's probably the following weekend when Saints fans don't want to be buying any newspapers or anything, because Leicester's first return to St Mary's since their last game there. Couple of other, a game against Liverpool is always special, but generally it's just finishing as high as possible, putting in some performances that give reasons for optimism for next season as well. They're not going to finish with 52 points like last season. They're not going to finish 11th unless there's a fantastic end to the season. So we still want to see Southampton finish with very positive signs, and for reasons to really nail down the idea that it's progress from last season, and not just because this has been such a horrible season with all the off-field difficulties and everything, but get up close to that points total from last season, finish mid-table-ish again, and then be able to point out that all these other positives on the pitch, nail down a couple of good signings in the summer, and then everyone will come back hopefully into the ground in August for the new season with an awful lot of hope.
Yeah, well, it's Tottenham up next in the league. Dean, what are your early thoughts ahead of that one?
A tough game. It'll always be a tough game against Tottenham. But like Paul just mentioned there, it's a game or a fixture you would look at as an individual player after the heavy defeat earlier in the season and think, okay, we don't want that to be replicated. We want to put a good performance in. I think a reaction as well. I think the players need to probably stew on this for 1 or 2 days because the performance and obviously the disappointment from today, and then a reaction. Put a performance in. You can never judge what the result is. You can never control what the result is, but you can always control performance. You can control how hard you work, how disciplined you are, how much effort you put in. And the players did that today. Look, they tried hard. The quality was probably missing. Was that nerves? Was that anxiety? Was it the occasion? Who knows? And it can happen. Only the players know that. But I think a reaction and a good performance against Tottenham just keeps that spirits up. Paul's right. You need to finish the season strong, because when you potentially haven't got anything to play for, another win, but you're playing for to start next season really well. That must be the focus now, to give the club or the fans some hope and excitement going into next season. You actually think, you know what? We finished the season strong. We got to an FA Cup semi-final. It's not too bad. We make a couple of good signings in the summer. And then you think with a bit of optimism, okay, what can we do this season? But I think it's just, you have to forget about that, deal with the disappointment and put a good performance in against Tottenham, and the result will be the result.
Yeah, well, Tottenham are aside, have got their own day at Wembley coming up soon, Paul. How do you think Saints can bounce back into that one?
Well, I watch Spurs a lot, and I'm absolutely not convinced by them. And I watch Southampton a lot, and often very convinced by them. So, yeah, I can't imagine how much hurt the players will feel in the dressing room now, the bus back in the week. But they have had big disappointments in the past. They've put them behind them and reacted extremely well. So that I have no doubts that they can go there on Wednesday and put in an excellent performance and come away with the 3 points. Spurs are already moaning about this game being rescheduled then before the cup final. So, that's not showing a terrific mentality. But, there are a lot of players at Saints in all the key positions. There aren't too many weaknesses there. There are a lot of players who will still feel that competition from their colleague who's desperate for their place. There will be a lot of players who are looking in the transfer columns thinking, oh, this guy's been linked. There's a lot for them to play for. There's a lot of motivation still there. There's extra prize money for the clubs for finishing as high as possible and that sort of thing. So, it's always struck me as very insulting talk of oh, the players have been on the beach and all that. In their minds, they're already on holiday, that sort of thing. That might have been the case 30, 40 years ago. These guys will go out on Wednesday and again at the weekend and in every game until the end of the season, putting in absolutely 100%. And I'll go back to what I said earlier about how there are already accusations out there that they didn't try hard enough today. Absolute nonsense. They put in everything they've got in every single game. They will do that again every game until the end of the season and beyond, because there is no hiding place for a professional footballer these days. You cannot go through the motions and continue to work as a professional. It just doesn't happen. So yeah, I think professional pride will kick in, that they're stung by today and they will want to put in a big performance there. And I have no doubts that they will give Spurs a very, very tough game on, is it Wednesday at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium?
Yes, indeed. Paul, Dean, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been great chatting to you. As always, well, it wasn't to be for Southampton in the FA Cup this evening. We do return to Premier League action on Wednesday away to Spurs. It's a 6 p.m. kickoff for that one, so we will be with you from 4:45. I do hope you can try and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. At least it's Monday tomorrow. See you later. Bye.